Let me put this way. Do I want to put this way? Stuff, what's up? Let me sniff a bitch. That's funny. You got me wanting to go back and watch this again. Uh, yeah, I mean, it was cool. You know, it was cool. I wasn't completely overwhelmed, but we'll get into this real quick. I'm not gonna wait too long. Okay. Griff, what's happening? I don't know about this show. My man, that's what's up, though. That's what's up. All right, so I'm gonna get into it. Normally I would just record this, but I forgot to do something a little different. Johnny, be good. What's happening? Just started to look at Crunchy. You have any plans to review Raised by Wolves? I want to. Yeah. Shit. Come on, camera. Don't do this. Yeah, I've been meaning to get my hands on Raised by Wolves. I've been hearing good things about it. I watched the first two episodes. It was a slow burn, but I'm gonna get back into it, man. So yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, Borbini, hey. Piper, what's happening? Taiwan, that's what's up. Edward Bailey, hey. Native, hey. I am Aries Queen, hey. I haven't watched this episode yet. Ooh, Curly. All right, so let me get right into it. I'm not gonna waste you guys' time. So, episode 10. This is season finale. So, as of right now, there are no plans for season two. They haven't announced anything as far as season two. I believe the showrunner Misha has some ideas for season two. I have some ideas of what we could possibly see if they greenlight the season two. But as of right now, there is no season two. So everybody just kind of chill. All right. So episode 10. Tick Lady, Hippolyta, and Montrose return with D from Mayfield. The restoration curse has nearly worn off on D, so D is pretty much turning into a pickaninny again. Tick begins to recite the words of the Book of Names. The book opens up to the family birthmark. Tick and Lady pass out. Tick returns to the burning mansion and sees Hannah. She tells him the answer is in his blood. Hannah then tells Tick she used Titus's spell to keep her unborn child hidden from those who know magic. All right, because the child will always be seen as a source of power to the order. So this whole theme basically is the energy, the blood, the melanin of black people have always been used by those others as a source of whatever um, nefarious things they want to use with our bodies. That's I mean the medical industries basically their all their discoveries have pretty much been at the behest of black women's bodies, black men's bodies. So it's a you know, and all through history, the power of the melanated body has always been used to further and whatever the case may be for other people, for those that lack or melanin deficient. So that's a common theme. We've seen this all throughout history when it comes to black and white, as far as that type of stuff. So then the birthmark is shown on Hannah's stomach. She says the flames from the mansion followed her even in death. Hannah sacrificed herself to bind the book, unable to be unopened. The fire represented Hannah's rage, manifested. It could be tamed. She said it was a safe place for her ancestors. It's a gift she passes on. Also, fire's purification as well too. So Tick tells Hannah he needs her help to unbind the book to save Dee. Hannah says he will save them all. At the same time, Letty's transported back to Tulsa to Hattie and Dora's house, the burning house. Hattie tells Letty the unborn child brought them there. Um, Hattie tells Letty Hannah created the burning mansion space. So the constant theme of the burning mansion, Hannah created that. So that's where all the ancestors pretty much go. All the ancestors in Tick and Letty's family, well, they pretty much all go. This is the ancestral space, the Burning Mansion. Hannah created that when she first opened the book unknowingly. Okay. Hannah also believed she was in hell. Before she killed herself, she bound the book closed. So now it's Letty's job to protect the book. Hannah bound the book out of fear, and that was her first mistake. So Hattie tells Letty, "Don't make the mistake that Hannah made. Be strong, be courageous, use love. Don't operate out of fear." Tick is then back at Montrose's apartment in the same fire space. You can see out the windows that fire is still there. Tick meets his mom. Tick tells his mom he doesn't want to die. Here's the kicker. His mother, Dora, she tells him, if we ain't walking towards an altar to sacrifice ourselves, then what is our purpose? So this is all about sacrifice. So we already knew from the first episode that Tick had to die for the family to move on. And before I go further, once again, another example of how black men must sacrifice themselves to make sure the family goes on. Um, I feel salty about this episode because once again, it's like you're reaffirming that men are just disposable tools to be used at anybody's behest and then discarded. I don't like this. I don't like what's being shown here. Me personally, I am personally tired of seeing the fathers, the grandfathers, the patriarchs being used and discarded for the sake of the family. That's just me. That's just me. I'm trying to keep it objective, but as a father myself, no. But this unfortunately is the cross that black fathers bear when it comes to their family. You slave away for your family, and at the end of the day, you don't get the credit. You get pretty much, used and abused, and then when it's your time, that's it. But that I'm getting on the rant. I'm sorry for the rant. I'm just saying I don't like this. I don't like this. Okay, so and then once again the racial element, all the dark skinned black folk, pretty much dead or dying for this light skinned mulatto esque woman to be the future bearer of the bloodline. I don't like that part either, but I'm getting off track. So let's get back into it. So then Tick says there has to be another way to stop Christina. His mom tells him, we tell ourselves we have a choice even when we don't. She tells him he has the best parts of Montrose, Montrose's fierce heart, and George's integrity. So we don't know who this boy daddy is. We still don't know who this boy daddy is. She calls him a hero, and then Hannah's spell will change everything. Hattie is teaching Letty the words of the book, and then Dora and Tick walk in the same room together. Dora, Letty, Tick, they all concentrate on Diana as Hattie begins the incantation. Dee is healed. Tick and Letty wake up, but Dee's her left arm is decayed. Or Diana is a lefty, so her arm is pretty much decayed. All right. Tick wants to create a binding spell against Christina. Tick demonstrates control over his Shoggoth. So at the end of episode, I believe it was 8 or 9, when the Shoggoth came to protect Tick. That's his own personal Shoggoth. Also, his Shoggoth is black. The other Shoggoths are white. So if you follow these movies enough times, it's always the black creature is the strongest creature of them all. That's a whole nother story, but okay. So then Tick and Lady take the elevator down to the cave. Tick and Lady begin to prep the binding spell against Christina. Tick and Lady then summon Titus Braithwaite. So they reincarnate the progenitor of the Braithwaite family, Titus, the old man Titus that impregnated Hannah. So and then Hannah shows up. The spirit of Hannah shows up. Hannah confronts Titus. Titus then escapes the binding spell and causes Christina to crash her Bentley into a telephone pole. He tells her those niggers have the book. Titus is then summoned back to the space, back to the cave, and is then surrounded by Dora, Hattie, Tick, Hannah, and Letty as they begin to chant incantations. Tick then cuts out a piece of flesh from Titus. Pretty much kills him, and then Titus disintegrates. Hannah then disintegrates. Hattie then disintegrates, and then lastly Dora then disintegrates. So I assume they all pretty much crossed over to the other side officially. So like the ancestral space is pretty much like their purgatory. So then once he cut out a piece of Titus, they all pretty much transcended over to the next realm. So then Hippolyta tries to console Dee. Dee accuses Hippolyta of abandoning her. Hippolyta tells her she had to leave to come back how she imagined her to be. So now you have this whole thing with young versus old. The young Diana feels abandoned by the older elder. We see this time and time again with these arguments with the civil rights blacks versus the blacks that came in the 80s and 90s. We feel that the civil rights blacks basically chose themselves and abandoned their future generations for immediate gifts. You understand? So we had that kind of dynamic here where the young is basically blaming the old for abandoning the young. Okay. So then Hippolyta says she named herself Mother and came back to Dee. Okay. Letty then has a plan to use Ruby to get close to Christina. So the binding spell they want to use against Christina, they need a piece of Christina's body. Then also they need to be in the same occupying space. Tick, Christina, and Christina's body part, or whatever the case, okay? So Christina then shows up. She says it's not generational hate. She says Tick's death will just be a consequence of a spell she's just trying to cast. Okay, so there you have this white now disingenuousness. Like it's not a big deal. It's like we don't hate you. I just need you. I need your body to do this. You know what I'm saying? So then Christina wants the book in exchange to leave Tick and his family alone. Tick refuses. Christina then removes the mark of Cain from Letty before she leaves. So now Letty can get killed. She no longer has the mark. Then, okay, so they return back to Letty's home. As they return back to Letty's home, you see the blood mark on the door sill. It's kind of wearing off. So the protection spell ain't as strong as it used to be. You know when you mark you draw your spells and your sigils, and it has to stay in place. If you wipe it or rub it off, it loses its effectiveness. Same thing when you salt your openings, your door openings, your windows. The salt has to stay in place. If you blow or disrupt the line, it loses its effectiveness. Okay, same premise here. Tick then meets Gia at the Drake Motel. Of course, Drake is slang for dragon. He tells her what they had was real. He apologizes to her. Jin's mother had died recently, so we all thought Jihad had killed her mother. Her mother died of natural causes. And then Tick tells Jin she's in the grieving process. She's grieving over her mother. Jin tells Tick the shaman told her not to worry about mortal issues and that she's destined to enter the darkness. Letty and Ruby talk at their mother's grave. Letty tells her she was in jail, that's why she missed the funeral. Eloise Baptiste is the mother's name. That is a character in Eve's Bayou, I believe, correct. So somebody fact check me. There was a character named Baptiste or Eloise in the movie Eve's Bayou. You know that was one of Journey's movies with Sam Jackson, Eve's Bayou. So they paid homage to that character in that movie, okay? Letty then tells Ruby they need her to get a piece of Christina for the binding spell. Ruby refuses to help. Then Dee is trying to write with her right hand. Like I said, she's a lefty. And so then Hippolyta tells Dee time never stops. Hippolyta then builds a robotic left arm for Dee. We said this in episode 9. If even in the book, Dee has a robotic left arm. So we already knew they pretty much spoiled everything in episode 8 when Tick went to the future, for the most part. Okay. So then Ruby and Christina talk. Christina tells Ruby intention, location, the body combined with incantation are the elements of magic. Christina then explains how she created the potion uh, that she uses to change into different bodies. The night that William died and was shot by Lancaster, she used the energy of his death for his rebirth, and then she used her blood, hair, and nails with his for the body. This is why she has to keep him in a comatose state. As Ruby is beginning to look at an empty bottle of potion. So now Ruby kind of decided, thinking about stealing the bottle to give to Letty for the spell. Okay? The five elements can be used in any infinite amount of ways. Christina's then worried her spell won't work. Ruby tells her spell will work, and they kiss. Okay. Tick then gets baptized at Letty's request because Letty has now become religified because she's like, God's going to protect us. So she's a holy roller now. Given everything she's seen, now she wants to turn to religion. That's the last thing you turn to. If you listen, if you're a practitioner of magic, religion is the last thing you concern yourself with. Okay, yeah, actually, you would reject religion if you're an actual practitioner of said magic. Okay, so then back at George's shop, Tick takes in one final moment with everybody before they head back to Artem. Ruby then shows up and gives Letty the potion. Dinah, what's up? Hey. So then Montrose, Letty, Tick, Hippolyta, Ruby, Dee, and Jin Ah ride to Artem. And then they're all singing the song Life Could Be a Dream. In Artem, Tick eats the final piece of Titus's flesh as Montrose begins to salt the path. Okay? So then Tick is accompanied by a bunch of followers of the Order. The altar resembles a square and compass. Letty and Ruby complete the binding triangle. So then Ruby begins to talk about the pull of family. Letty catches on. So then Ruby says, I caught Ruby trying to steal the potion for you, and says it's Letty's fault that she's dead. So I got my wish. Ruby's dead. I got my wish. They killed Ruby. I couldn't stand Ruby. Sorry. So then a fist fight ensues. Montrose, Hippolyta, and Jin Ah are fighting off a bunch of followers on the bridge. Letty is then thrown out of the tower by Christina, Ruby, and hits the ground, killing her. This is like the second time she's died in this series. Okay. Dee is then reading the Lovecraft book. Tick is then strapped to the altar in a crucifix position. Christina then tells Tick their plan might have worked had they left Ruby out of it. Dee is then attacked by a Shoggoth, a bunch of white Shoggoths, but then Tick's black Shoggoth shows up to protect Dee. Okay, the black one. And of course, it's bigger than the white ones as well too. So Montrose is unconscious. Jin Ah and Hippolyta watch as Christina cuts open Tick's forearms as Christina covers herself in his blood. So once again, this is how important the blood is, especially because let's just be honest, the blood of black people it's very important. Okay, body parts, everything. All right. So then Letty is brought back to life, and then has the mark of Cain reinstated on her. Christina begins to absorb Tick's essence. Letty then arrives to tell Tick she loves him before he dies. Letty then stabs Christina and begins her incantation. Jenna then summons the Kumiho and then uses her tails to bind the body of Christina and Tick. Tick's flashbacks begin to start showing. Tick then shows Dee how to control his Shoggoth. This is why it protected her from the white ones. Then Tick had wrote a final letter to Montrose. Christina's then trapped under a stone rubble. So after she Letty is doing the incantation, and then the black smoke engulfs them both, and then whatever, it goes black, and then this next scene is Christina laying under a bunch of rubble. She can't get out. Okay, so here's the kicker. Here's the funny part. Christina is trapped under stone rubble. Christina has been bound from using magic, including every white person. So Letty stands over Christina, and Christina says, "Oh, you bound me from using magic," and she says, "Yes, you and every white person in the world." Hilarious. hilarious. So every white person can no longer use magic. Montrose then realizes Tick is dead. Hippolyta gives him the letter. In the letter, Tick tells Montrose he has a second chance at being a better father through his grandson. Diana and Tick's Shoggoth then stands over Christina because they leave. And so then you see Dee, and he come in her Shoggoth, and it's hers now. Stand over Christina. Christina's begging for help. Okay, so you know how white folk, we'll use the shit out of you, and then when we get in the jam, hey, can you help us? We're sorry. I need your help. Same thing here. So she's begging for help. She's, Dee, help me, help me. So then Dee says, you still haven't learned. So then she takes off her coat and reveals this mechanical arm that Hippolyta had built for her. And then she begins to strangle Christina and then basically pops her neck and the blood squirts out. That is it. Now, here's what some questions here. They've already established a multiverse. So is it possible Tick could come back? It's possible. In another universe? Possible. He can also come back through a restoration spell. So you know how to do the restoration spell. They can do that. That's another way he can come back. Or Tick he becomes an ancestor now, and he will probably end up guiding his son George through his adventures. Now, what was it last year? People were giving me grief about, it was a certain term I used, a practice in the Bible when you communicate with dead people, dead spirits, anything to do with the dead. What was the name of that term, people, if you remember, for those that follow me long enough? I'm just curious to see who remembers. I'll give it a minute. Who remembers that tangent I went on for about 3 months? Necromancy. Okay. All right. This series is full of it. Every time Tick dealt with Hannah, necromancy. Same thing in Black Panther. Every time T'Challa went to go talk to T'Chaka, necromancy. So it's all through this series. So then also, this is what I would like to see happen. I would like to see Dee become the villain. Hear me out. If she's not the villain, she'll definitely be the anti-hero. Okay, Dee is not happy. Dee is very angry. And now Dee has learned some new powers and some new tricks. And Dee will be very, very rigid in her decisions. She's still mad at her mother, Hippolyta, regardless. They haven't kissed and made up yet, okay? So if they do a season 2, I would like to see like a George versus Dee, matchup at some point, because Dee is like, fuck everybody. Okay, she killed somebody. Okay, she's a 12-year-old girl. She just killed somebody. So yeah, I think that was pretty much it. That was the season finale. Like I said, they have not said anything about season 2, so give it some time before they announce it, before they greenlight it. With that being said, so like I said, this episode for me is a bit of a letdown. I personally am tired of seeing the men have to sacrifice themselves for the family to go on, and then like I said, the women get boosted up, because whatever the case may be, and still that narrative is still continuing. I don't care for that, but I'm not going to get long-winded or get subjective. So, but that was pretty much it. Like I said, this episode for me was a little bit underwhelming, but that's my reasons for it. So I'm sure you guys loved it. Whatever the case may be, most of you guys liked it. Abomination's perspective. Be careful with semantics. Yes. So I'm gonna get out of here. That's all I pretty much wanted to do, and I'll put this on the movie review channel. But yeah, all right, you guys have a good night. Peace.